This is Melanie Brotherton, and this is my SWOT analysis for Drew Central Elementary School. The SWOT analysis, it stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. Strengths. The majority of our teachers are seasoned with experience and have an average of 15 years in education. We have 95% of our teachers that have completed Science of Reading training and continued support from the Educational Cooperative. All classrooms have Elmo with interactive boards in grades K through 4th grade. All students K through 4th have access to Chromebook in and out of school use. All teachers have a laptop that is utilized at home for instruction. The elementary is very active on social media, Class Dojo, and Monticello Live to communicate with the community, parents, and other stakeholders. We have a parent-teacher organization. Our weaknesses have been identified as parental involvement is weak in grades 2 through 4 in the elementary. Testing using Chromebooks is done by rotating classes due to the loss of Wi-Fi connection with too many people being on at one time. Teachers do not incorporate technology in lessons, grades K2, consistently to expose new learnings using technology. With virtual learning, parents are not trained to help students. Drew Central Elementary does not have a current technology plan to identify weaknesses that are going on with the current COVID situation. There is no technology teacher coach at our school. There is not a technology committee to refer to technical problems and resolutions. We only have one dyslexia teacher that provides testing and instruction and oversees ongoing remediation for students identified in the district. The dyslexia teacher is also the reading coach, which takes away from the students that need consistency. Students that have been identified with dyslexia characteristics should continue to be monitored, and interventions should be in place until graduation. School report card is a D. Lack of substitute classes were doubled and canceled, such as keyboarding. Students need the keyboarding to learn to type in order to prepare for the ACT Aspire essay submissions for grades 3 and up. Other weaknesses are the decreased employment due to COVID-19 has impacted the economic status of the school district. We have generational poverty, lack of parental responsibility, increasing number of non-traditional families, children being raised by a family other than parents, limited face-to-face interactions with students due to the current pandemic, lack of Wi-Fi at home for students if and when they go home for virtual learning. We have 60% of our students do not have internet in their homes. Due to the pandemic, COVID-19, after school tutoring may not be offered to help with students that are not meeting grade level standards. Opportunities for the district include funding was made available through the CARES Act for schools to purchase Chromebooks for at-home use and other essential materials that the current pandemic situation has brought about. A new wing is currently being added to the elementary building for 5 new classrooms for kindergarten. The administrators desire a technology plan. The SWAT team will form a technology committee, including educators, community leaders, and parents. Wilmer Community has proposed to add Hotspot to the Community Recreational Center. With the news of Wilmer adding a hotspot to their community center, the rise in students opting for virtual learning went up in one day by 28 students. Threats. The lack of student exposure for technology for mandated virtual learning because of the no AMI days, all will be virtual on Canvas. will cause avoidance and parental frustration, and new learnings will not continue for the student. Parents and students that have chosen virtual learning for the fall have not been adequately trained for the Canvas website. Lack of knowledge may result in lack of learning for the student. Teachers are unaware of technology standards which should be taught and used at every level. Technology is included in professional development yearly, but is not a requirement to ensure classroom integration. Teachers already feel overwhelmed without the stress of learning new technology, as according to Canvas, that is the school's choice for the virtual learning. Because of the students and their families' increased income base, not all students have access to their internet at home. Our SWAT team members include our board members, faculty, administration, parents, and PTO members. Those SWAT team members are Mark Andrews, which is our technology coordinator, Trudy Jackson, elementary principal, Carla Booth, first grade teacher, Erica Herman, second grade teacher and parent, Mike Pennington, board member, Mary Hobbs, she's our dyslexia teacher and our literacy coach, Carrie Cater, president of our parent teacher association, Nola Gober, third grade teacher and after school tutoring coordinator, Ryan McRae, which is a second grade teacher and also a preacher, Heidi Reed, paraprofessional and a parent, Renee Knowles, board member, Gary Lucas, board member, Kim Burnett is a migrant teacher, Marley Lawson is a PTO member and parent, Laura Whitaker is a board member, Madison Knowles is a fourth grade teacher, and William Osborne is also a member of the technology team. The elementary vision is Drew Central Elementary will provide leadership support, high quality learning experiences, and student focused education to prepare all students for a career, college, and community success. Drew Central Elementary vision for our school is building lifelong learners. Our pirates, the P is positivity, the R is respect, the I is integrity, the D is dedication, and the E is excellence. Pirate pride. The SWAT team has identified our problem or issue is that 60% of our students do not have internet in their homes. The Arkansas Department of Education has removed all the alternative paper method of instruction, AMI. All instructions must be delivered virtually. Virtual instruction will be included anytime the school is closed. That means for snow days, COVID, flooding, anything that we would be closed for, the students will do virtual learning. The school will provide students with Chromebooks and portable USB storage devices with lessons that have been downloaded. In order for students to continue education, it will be necessary to have available hotspots to accommodate student need. Locations that have internet access will need a wireless access point. In the case of the community that the community does not have businesses or buildings with internet, they will need a Verizon or AT&T hotspot. The SWAT team will focus on funds and sites to address this problem. This plan will help students gain their maximum potential in alignment with our school mission if virtual learning is enforced or chosen. Communities, resources, and agencies needed. Church officials from all communities. Churches could provide sites for internet access to hotspots. It will be necessary for each community to have at least 2 or more internet hotspots. These communities include the 16 section South, 16 section North, Selma, Coleman, Chapel, Florence, Rock Springs, Lacey, Liddell, Lacey New Hope, Enon, and Camino. Community centers and community leaders will provide additional sites for hotspots. By using community centers, the community is investing in the education of their students. The Boys and Girls Club for an additional site for students living in the city limits. The parent teacher organization is very involved in raising funds for projects. Using the parent teacher organization will have to be very careful because of social distancing. Most of the things that we do will have to be done by virtual, or we would have to do jars to take up like donations. They could set up things at local stores, but going door to door selling is out because of the social distancing and keeping everybody safe. Commercial bank and trust company and Union Bank for donating to the hotspots for students. And Walmart is a great community resource because they provide Netgear mobile hotspot routers, and discounts could be made to select purchases for education. A plan for securing community resources and agencies. Action step 1. The first action step will be assigning teachers that live in the communities to approach church leaders and community leaders. The area needs to be secure to determine if more than one will be needed, like as land obstructions, trees, metal buildings, low areas, and how many miles the spot is from the towers. Action step 2 would be to involve board members in the community locations. Each board member represents the 5 townships that make up the Drew Central District. Action step 3 is to approach local banks and businesses to help raise money for the students' need. Action step 4 is involve the PTO in fundraising and donations on websites and local high traffic essential stores. Step 5 is to meet with the SWOT members to identify sites and the number of routers to be purchased. With this step, a dollar amount will be added to the goal amount of the project. Step 6, technology team to visit the sites to determine the router strength and other technology needs. Step 7 is to purchase the routers and other technology needs for each site. Step 8 is the technology team will install routers at each site. And step 9, the communities will be informed of the site's time availability. When talking with some of the churches and communities, they wanted to be given specific times because they wanted to avoid older students hanging out during late hours. So if it was available during, let's just say 8 to 10, that's when students and parents could go there to download their information. Action step 10 would be sites are ready for virtual learning and all students have access to lessons that everyone receives. Fiscal material technological resources justification. To successfully have additional funds to proceed with this plan, it's going to be necessary to get support from our local Walmart store. They can provide discounts on needed merchandise. It's going to be a site for PTO to set up their donations at their entrance. They also have a large bulletin board to place visuals for patrons to be informed of our need. Local financial support from Union Bank and Commercial Bank is an important partnership with our school. Their institutions can help with monies for the project. Financial institutions can provide us with constant involvement and engagement at all levels of the school. Both Union and Commercial Bank have repeatedly showed a significant support for short and long-term goals. Applying for grants would take up time, and the current need is now, and virtual learning will begin in 2 weeks. Securing hotspots is critical for the virtual learning. It is essential that all communities are involved in providing this resource for our students, with 60% of the entire district not having internet in their home. This not having it would cause a continued hardship for the parents and guardians of our students, and the learning process should not cause additional problems for parents that are already displaced with our current global situation. Indicators of equity. With our current pandemic, it is important to make sure all students have access to free and appropriate education. This plan provides our district with a continued plan for years to come. Students learning can continue from home with all the students receiving the same lessons. All students have equal opportunity and access to the technology lessons available through providing community hotspots. Major goals. All students must have access to virtual learning lessons during the current pandemic. Learning is equitable for all students if they have access to hotspots if and when virtual learning is in place. The project will be ongoing and solve future problems with virtual learning since AMI is not an option for educators during unforeseen closings. It provides sites for students when attending traditional school with homework or projects that require research. Project objectives are short-term strategies for solving the problem. The school will form a partnership with Union and Commercial Bank to raise money for virtual learning hotspots to be placed in all communities. The school will raise money for the project with PTO leading the fundraisers. The school will spread awareness and need through the district website, Facebook, and Monticello Live. PTO will distribute flyers at Walmart and other high traffic areas for broader community awareness. The long term strategies for solving the problem, the school will acquire sites that will be utilized past the current pandemic. Student, Students during weather closures will always have access to the hotspots for virtual learning. The school will continue a partnership with Walmart for discounted prices and update technological needs. Students will continue to use the sites for after hours when school is in session to work on school projects where the internet is vital for completion. Short-term key strategies. The PTO will have to set up donation buckets inside stores due to social distancing and CDC policies. The PTO will reach the public through a GoFundMe page. GoFundMe pages do take a little bit out of it. They do have a small fee, but in view of our situation, there's nothing else that we could do but to go to virtual to help raise money. They'll go to the PTO Facebook website, and this will help reach more people than face to face. It would provide safety and avoid human to human contact. Kathy Kellum will run off flyers for the PTO members and teachers to place in high traffic areas, like in the Walmart bulletin board where everybody enters. There's two bulletin boards there, and that's a great place to put a flyer for people to see. Long-term key strategies. After all SWAT team members have reported back from the communities, a map will be used to plot the different locations. The map will be placed on our website, student handbook, teacher handbook, and given to new families to the district to inform them of information about where the hotspots are located. Monies from donations and fundraisers will be recorded and shared the recordings with the communities and other stakeholders. New hotspot sites for students will be publicized through the local newspaper, district webpage, Facebook, and Monticello Live. Communicating this accomplishment is essential in sharing the progress on projects that they have invested in. The research that I found on this was the CARES Act. Um, It's a site that give information about the coronavirus aid relief and economic security. The CARES Act signed into law by President Donald Trump on March the 27th, which provides schools funding and flexibilities for states to respond to the COVID-19 emergency in K-12 schools. I looked up some information on the entrepreneur.com article. That article provided information on preparing students and teachers for virtual learning and the importance of consistent feedback, which that's been the problem since March, is that we have not been able to give consistent feedback to our students because they can't contact us with 60% not having internet. I also looked at the agenda for the coronavirus, the Science Direct. That was an article that I used. This next article was Ed Teach magazine. There was continued remote learning students without internet. This article was just basically about students that didn't have internet and ways that they were trying to find to help those students. The Baltimore article from Baltimore I found that was very kind of similar to the fact that we had to purchase with that CARES Act 5 routers. That was one of the stipulations from our state department. And in Baltimore, there's lots of things around buses, but in our areas, they're remote. So to me, some of that would become a safety measure, and the school would have to probably pay someone to man that bus. I know that they had talked about solar energy, but still leaving a bus unattended, I just don't think would be safe, even if you were driving up to it. I think it would be better like in a parking lot because some of these areas are just like a stick on the road. So, that's what you have to deal with when you're trying to find hotspots. That particular article contained information about Baltimore, Maryland putting internets on the buses for students to use during, specific hours. So that's after talking to people at churches, and there was a concern of theirs that they didn't want it to become a hangout. I thought, well, we need to, impose hours so that it doesn't become a hangout. That way, that if they're there beyond those hours, it's okay, you'll need to come back during these hours. That way you can keep the area safe and not just a hangout. Results and outcomes. The expected results from the strategic plan are to have multiple sites for student access to Wi-Fi to download lessons, work on projects, and better their education through virtual learning. Long-lasting school and community partnerships will be formed. Communities are invested in their education of their future. This project is centered on student continued learning. The results of this project will provide students for several years with upgrades, a way to continue learning when the school is closed due to COVID or weather. Due to the changing situations in our world, our students will not suffer from not having internet in their homes. This will not be a burden on their parents that are continually having to adjust to a new normal. The communities will be informed of outcomes through the district web page, Facebook, automatic calling systems to the homes in the districts, the local newspaper, mail to parents and stakeholders. Celebrations could be held at a later date due to show that we have accomplished face to face due to the current social distancing. The communities will benefit greatly by providing the hotspots for students in their areas. The school will benefit by assuring that all students will have close access for every student that attends Drew Central School. The outcome for the identified weakness promotes fairness throughout our community and helps students gain their maximum potential and is aligned with our school mission.